Right, so I had a gig last night and I got back in at like nearly 2 in the morning, and this morning I had to get up fairly early. And I was thinking about what kind of matters most to me as a guitarist is about enjoying playing guitar, right? So last night I actually had a really fun gig. I think all of us on the gig kind of thought that was really fun. It was just a normal kind of wedding in a teepee kind of thing, but you know, playing some great kind of classic rock tunes and stuff like that. And it kind of reminded me of what's most important, I think, especially, well, for a few reasons. So first of all, if you don't enjoy what you're actually practicing and playing, then the chances are that you're not going to do as much kind of practice or playing as what you would do if you actually enjoy the thing, right? That's obvious. And then the second thing is, if you get to the level where you're actually starting to play these gigs and stuff, then an audience generally will enjoy a gig much more if you're actually enjoying it. And you know, you can see in some of the faces of the great players that we kind of dig as guitarists, someone like Eddie Van Halen, or even, you know, as something as obviously cheesy as The Darkness or someone like that. What is clear is that those guys are enjoying playing the guitar, you know, at certain points of their career anyway. And so what that means for me is, as soon as possible, anytime that you have like an idea, I try and get that in place with actual music that I like to listen to. So like that introduction is inspired by the verse to Shaka Khan's Ain't Nobody. I'm going to show you some ideas now, And I would say to you, like, I'll put a backing track at the end of this, maybe try and experiment with these with the backing track. So first of all, this is the really kind of stale thing about scales and metronomes, is you end up doing this sort of thing where potentially you're just going. So that's kind of one mode of practicing scales, right? And you stick on a metronome and you run up and down scales. So even that practice by itself is incredibly useful though. So here I'm practicing kind of the E flat minor pentatonic all over the neck, or F sharp major pentatonic all over the neck, or G flat major all over the neck. These are all the same thing, confusingly enough. And what I might do is, once I'm relatively comfortable with that, is start to just play it along with an actual track. So like That Ain't Nobody there, I could play it and I could think about, right, I'm going to stick around in one of these more unfamiliar positions. And I'm going to think about where is certain aspects, what are the notes that I like the sound of, and try and just remember those, right? And think about it, so sort of consciously be kind of... Some sort of like active listening, active practicing, right? Improvisation, this kind of thing. Also, you could think about, right, I'm going to try and jump between these boxes, and what I find is, instead of having like a super planned out practice routine where you're practicing one thing specifically, for me it's much more musical to be jumping between ideas. And so if you do it with the backing track, you can think, right, the other thing about having a backing track is that you can practice these things in one way, sort of like 16th notes or quavers, but then you might find that some tracks are too fast, too slow to play along to, so you might have to try and figure out how to play this sort of thing in triplets. And I found that's really helpful as well. So you have like subdivisions and different ways of playing similar ideas. And that sort of thing, you know, so you're kind of just thinking about, because you've got that track that you're listening to and playing along to, you might only be able to play quarter notes with it, or you might be able to do 16th notes, or you might find actually either the quarter notes are too slow, or the 8th notes are too slow, or the 16th notes are too slow, but the 32s or the 16ths are too fast, or whatever. And you think, right, well then I'm going to have to do something triplet based. One really cool thing to do when you're practicing this kind of improvisation stuff is try to repeat what you last did as well. And another thing that you should do, I think, is try and think about starting on a certain beat. So if you've got like a snare on beat 2 and 4, try and start your phrase on beat 2, try and end your phrase on beat 4, and try and be conscious of where the beat is actually happening. I find that really helps to kind of make it so that you're not just noodling, but you're actually noodling with intent. And then kind of other things that I would try doing is try and find cool ideas that sound good to you. And this is the main thing that drives my improvisational playing. It's not necessarily that I'm super thinking about every single note or anything, but I'm trying to find the thing that sounds pretty good. And what I've found over the years is that this sounds pretty good. You could think about that as a pentatonic scale with one extra note, or a hexatonic scale, or the major scale without the 4th degree. So say we're in G flat major, for example, when we get to the 4th degree, we just skip it. So we skip the fourth note of the scale. And that does two things. First of all, it evens out the scale so that we no longer have a 7-note scale. So that can fit in certain times, and time feels a bit better, and even out the actual thing. And also it means that we aren't playing this fourth degree of the scale so much, which can sound really clumsy if you play that in the wrong place. I've done other videos talking about that, but just trust me on it. If you play the fourth degree of the scale in the wrong area or without care, it can sound dodgy. Some people call it an avoid note. I don't think of it so much as an avoid note, but I do think that is one note that will potentially wreck your solo. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, the other thing that I like to do, so when I'm thinking about playing over a progression like this, I'm only thinking about the one kind of major scale. I'm not thinking about each chord that passes, but I do know that the 9th degree of the scale and the 7th lead me to interesting places in a way that thinking about all the chord tones don't so much. So I target specifically the 9th degree of the scale and the 7th, or the 2nd and the 7th, right? You could think about it that. So in G flat, I'd be thinking about A flat, and I'd be thinking about this F, right? Just an F natural. So maybe try doing that and try some of these ideas yourself. So kind of think about where that might set you off as a jumping point. And so think about these kind of scales. Maybe you try your pentatonic stuff. And then try and join it up with this kind of new idea, which I'm telling you about, which is to target the 9th degree and 7th degree of the scale. But yeah, I've spoken with a few of you guys on Skype and you asked me kind of what it is that I'm thinking. Honestly, I'm not thinking quite as much as maybe you think I'm thinking. You think? What I'm trying to do is think about timing, like try and play in time. I'm thinking about trying to execute sort of bigger ideas, but I'm not thinking about every single note and every degree of the scale as it goes past. It's too much. What I try to do is keep it simple and think about like the shape of a phrase and thinking about the sounds that I like. But the biggest thing is that I actually enjoy picking up the guitar and playing it every day, so I do it every single day. So gradually I'm getting slightly less bad at this thing. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think's the most important thing about playing guitar and how you get around some of these things? I'll put the backing track at the back here now, and I'll put together a few little ideas that I might practice over this and that I'm going to put those on Patreon for you along with the backing track if that's interesting. Here's one particular that I think really sounds good. So I would find a way to fit this in. To the backing track and try and make it feel like I can fit that into my improvisation as an idea. But yeah, catch you in another video soon. Have a good weekend. There's going to be another lesson this evening about jazz, I think, once I get a chance. Cheers.